So you recently moved, so you were up in like the Portland area, right?
I was actually up in Washington, the Pacific Northwest, in the corner in this little small fishing town. I just actually moved a couple months ago to Texas in the San Antonio area. So completely relocated.
How is it?
It's great. I love the sunshine. If you don't, if you like sunshine, come this way. Don't go in the Pacific Northwest. It's very rainy there.
That's awesome. And you guys just opened an office, right?
Absolutely. Yep. We opened up an office with Chadwick. There's a big group of awesome producers here. So if you guys have an opportunity to get to an office, I definitely advise it. Makes a huge difference.
Awesome. Did you have an office up in Washington?
I did, but it actually just consisted basically of myself and my staff because we
Okay.
really did. It was just kind of by myself in this little corner. So those of you that are feeling like, hey, I'm struggling because I don't have a place to go, I'd say that that's probably a limiting self-belief because you can make this opportunity work wherever you are. You just have to make it work.
That's awesome. And I haven't been following closely on your personal issue paid numbers. Like, what's your biggest month at FFL?
My biggest month is 48,000. I've been with FFL for a couple of years. I came from a healthcare background, no experience. My first 6 months in this business, figuring it out, I think I stumbled into like about 270,000 last year during COVID. And my mom actually going through cancer treatment. I was about 360. My goal was Hall of Fame. I fell short a little bit just with some personal stuff, but definitely have had some good months, had some low months, just kind of like with everybody else.
That's awesome. And your team's doing about 500,000, right?
Yes. Yep. About 500.
That's awesome. That's very good. So when you moved, because of this, I think this is super challenging and a lot of agents will go through this at some point in their career. So when you're moving, obviously the leads you were working in Washington probably weren't the same lead vendors that were available in San Antonio, I'm guessing.
Yeah, exactly.
What was your strategy there?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question because being that I had been in a certain area for a while, I had maybe some counties like locked out for mortgage protection, and then coming to a completely new area, it's like, you got to start all over. So I'm, doing the same thing that all brand new agents are doing, instant internet leads, aged leads. I'm picking up, finding little opportunities for like mortgage protection, like getting on Nashville leads. I'm really just trying to diversify as much as I can and also just explore the areas to figure out what works for me. Because what I've learned this from doing travel trips because I've gone to different states for travel trips. And what I found is sometimes it's weird. One lead source sometimes in one area works very different than another area is what I've noticed. I'll give the example of instant internet leads. In Washington, I used to feel like instant internet leads were really difficult for me. I came to Texas. I think they're great. So I would, it's just a matter of figuring out what works for you and then figuring out your area.
Yeah. I think there's a part of back being up against the wall too that changes the leads. So like
Sure.
in Washington, you had the fallback of you had all your mortgage protection counties, right? So then you were like, I'll just get some of these to supplement. You didn't have to make them work.
Right.
When you came to Texas, you're like, this is what I got. This is what I got to work with. And it worked.
Oh, heck yeah. I went door knocking on like 6-month-old internet leads because I was just like, I didn't have as many sources, but I was able to get 3 apps in one of the 6-month-old door knock lead that I did. So I'm like, you can make this work like with no matter what your situation is. When I started, I had $300. I had no money, but we were just broke and we were able to, to find our way through this business.
There you go. So what are some of those lead vendors? And you don't have to, if you don't want to say, you can prefer not to tell us your secret lead vendors. I don't care. What are some of those lead vendors that maybe agents don't know about that you would advise to use if they can't find leads in the CRM or direct mail mortgage protection?
Yeah, for sure. So socialinsuranceleads.com is a website that I like to go to. I like to get their life leads from there. I also like Nashville leads for their mortgage protection. They have the opportunity of new ones and like retro ones. I think they're great and they're actually postcards. So they get back really quickly. They instantly get dropped to you. You don't have to wait for the mail to come back. So I really like those. And I'd say that I've been kind of dabbling with some of the Happy agent leads, game time leads used to be my go-to when you could get like big sources of them. Now they have changed the way they do it, and it's more like you have to kind of pick them up one by one as they come in. But if you have the ability to do game time leads, I do feel that they are a great final expense lead vendor as well.
Awesome. Thank you. And yeah, my team didn't even know about Nashville leads. It was like at a different event I went to and I heard about it and I called them, and yeah, you can get direct mail mortgage protection. They have quite a bit of availability too. So
Yeah,
for
they're
those of
great.
you who want to invest in those, but maybe don't have mortgage protection availability in your area, that's one definitely to look into. That's awesome. Are you going to the Phoenix event?
I actually am not. The reason
Right.
why I am not is my husband is still active duty military. And so he's living in Washington State. I'm down here. So I have my kids. So for the next couple months, I'm kind of playing that whole, single mom, 3 kids, and being an agent.
Got
So
it.
yeah.
Agent and running a multi-million-dollar a year business.
Right,
That's awesome.
exactly.
So I think now that we're getting into this is what I think you're best at, or from my perspective, what I've seen you shine in. It's booking appointments. So what's your thought process? I think I would say thought process first, and then maybe what you do before you dial that I would like to get
Perfect.
into first.
Right. Okay. So my thought process on this is, okay, so the phones are 80. So what I heard from the very beginning was the phones are 80% of this business, right? Like they're the majority of this business. So I wasn't confused by what the main thing that I had to master. And what I learned was, so first off, and you start, I think everybody thinks that they're really good at rejection or things like that until they start dialing. And I don't know what it is about the phone, but it's that some sort of like that mindset of, oh, they're rejecting me. Right. And so what I would say for that is, when I go to start dialing, the way that I come about this is that, first off, I'm not bothering anybody. Like I'll say these things, I'll write it out in front of, I'm getting back to them. I'm trying to help them. I'm not bothering them. If I'm calling multiple times, it's because I'm trying to get in touch, because I know there's a lot of telemarketers out there, and I'm going to do everything I can to help that family. Right. So that's how I come about it. I come about it in what if I knew that one of these families in this stack of leads that I have is families. And what if I knew that one of the people in this stack of these families was going to die in the next month. Right. So what am I going to do to try to actively work through that? And that's kind of how I come at it. Right. I'm just like, I'm here, I'm a real person. And I feel like that's why I do feel like that the phones are one of my strongest, probably skills in this business. And that's because I made myself do that. The first week I called, I like cried. I was like emotional. I would think that like, oh, when I was moving a piece of the lead, it was like a $20 bill that I was throwing away. Like I had the worst mindset on it. So I've been there. I know how that can be, but it's such an important part of our business. So why not become a master at the phones, slay the phones, and the rest just kind of falls into place.
I feel you there. That's where it all starts too, right? So like you have to get the appointments to get good at running appointments. So
Right.
it's where it all starts is you got to get in front of the people. So what do you do? So like it's dial day. Okay. What time do you show up to the office? Do you dial from your office or do you dial from home?
I kind of normally I would be dialing in my office. Like I said, my schedule's a little all over the place, but if I was like that, I would be dialing in the office.
Okay.
Because there's too many distractions, right? I need to do laundry.
Yeah.
I need to go and do the dishes. Anything that I can find to get out of dialing is probably what I'll do, right? I'm sure a lot of people are like that. So I get in the office and I'm ready to go for sure.
I call that creative avoidance.
Yes.
I was the best at it. So my garage has never been so clean as it was like my second month in the business on my dial day. It's like, oh man, if I was a good husband, that garage would be clean. That's awesome. So you get to the office. What time do you get into the office, and what's your goal when to start dialing?
So I think that the best time to start dialing is kind of that like 7:30 window. Everybody has a little bit of preference. I think it just depends again on your mindset, how you think about it, right? Like if you personally think it's too early, then you are going to just have that, oh, I don't want to do it because like, oh, I would be bothered. But it's not about you, right? Because there's a lot of people that work. So trying to catch them when they're getting, on the road. And plus they're not getting called very much at that time. Same when you dial late, right? Like after 8 o'clock, a lot of people will be like, well, I can't dial after 7. Well, no, it's because you are telling yourself you can't dial after 7, right? So I'm ready to go and focused and ready to dial. Because when it's dial day, it's dial day. If I have a goal of what I'm trying to hit, then I have to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to set it up, because it's not going to affect me on the dial day if I'm not disciplined. What it's going to do is make my next 2 days ridiculously hard, and I'm going to be struggling, and it's all because of my dial day. I hope I'm explaining that well enough.
Yeah, actually, that is a really good way of looking at it. It's almost like make your dial day a hard day so that your run days are easy days.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Just to show up.
There you go. Awesome. So you get there early, you write out, the people aren't rejecting me, these are families. You write that stuff down like for real?
Absolutely. I used to have them like up on my computer. Like I'm not bothering like people want me to call them. They're looking for my help.
That's awesome.
Right. Because if you have that negative thoughts, right, we all have that negative talk that can come up. So you have to be bigger than that. Like the first year of this business, every single day when I'd get up in the morning, like showering or going to bed, I'm always listening to mindset of something that can help me be mindful and control the way that my thoughts, because your internal thoughts are going to create that self-doubt. And when you're in a business by yourself, like by yourself, but for yourself, right? You have to be disciplined, and you have to have that ability to push past those fear, or that, even if you have that outside sources, maybe family that's not supporting you, or a spouse or somebody who's, doubting you, or, oh, you left your really secure job for this. Like, what if I fail? Right. So you use that to control your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
It works. It really does.
Yeah. I call it fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And it just like kind of creeps in your mind, even if you're experienced aging, you have like 3 no-shows in a day, and next thing you know, you're starting to get a little tripped out. But
absolutely.
Yeah, if you don't fill your mind with positive things, the FUD will creep in, is what I say.
Yep.
So let's get into it. So now you're sitting down. Do you have the leads printed out? Do you have it in an Excel spreadsheet? Do you have a dialer? What do you call it? Software? How do you do that?
So last December, I got introduced to PhoneBurner, and it completely changed my entire world. I felt like it was like the best Christmas present I had been given, because before it was like I was either using spreadsheets and hand dialing or having a notebook and stuff like that. So now all my leads go into PhoneBurner, and I divide them up into weeks. So it'd be like November week 1, November week 2, November week 3. And then I'll always make sure that I'm working my newer leads first and then going backwards. So PhoneBurner, what I found is it's not a reason. It's not like for PhoneBurner, if you guys don't know what it is, I don't know if you guys use it or not, but auto dialer, you can triple dial very easily. It can send emails, you can send text messages with it. So the way that I view PhoneBurner is not a wait for me to dial less, it's for me to maximize my ability and to dial more. Like, for example, I went on a travel trip and I spent one day and I just used PhoneBurner all day, and I did 1,000 dials. And those 1,000 dials, I talked to like 130 something people in that one day. And now those 130 something people, I got like 30 to tell me yes, which means over 100 people told me no in one day. But I didn't really care. I was just super hyper focused on just trying to get my results, that I just knew that I needed to just focus on the activity.
Okay. So now let's get into PhoneScript, or let's get into tips that you use and what you say. So maybe things to pay attention to, and how you're saying what you're saying and what you're saying.
Okay. So as far as like when someone answers the phone, is that what? Okay. So one of the big things that I'm really hypersensitive and focused on is how the person answers the phone, like what their level is. And I'm really big on mirroring the person that is on the phone. Just like in the home, like if someone's leaning like this, I'm going to start leaning like this. Like I'm going to mirror and match what they do. Because if you're talking to, an older woman and you're and who's had a hard time hearing, you're talking really fast, you're not going to be able to connect to them.
Got it.
Right. So that's the first thing that I do. My intro for basically any type of life insurance is always the exact same. I'll say, Zach.
Yes.
Hey, Zach, this is Jessica. I run here locally for San Antonio as an underwriter. I'm just trying to get back in touch with you. I had recently received your request. I know you were looking for help with life insurance. When you submitted that, was it primarily for like mortgage protection, final expenses, or to leave a legacy?
I'm not sure.
Okay, perfect. No worries. So that's how I go through. I don't ask somebody, do you remember filling this out? I just go to, you were looking for help. I personally don't say, you submitted a request online. I approach everybody with I'm a local person to the area. I'm basically the girl next door, and you were looking for help, and I'm here to help you.
That's
And
awesome.
that's just how I approach it.
Good. Okay, before we go more into it, well, no, let's go more into it. Okay. So
Okay.
Will you say it one more time again? Sorry, let me follow a little bit better.
Sure. Okay. So now some people might think I'm a little wordy, but the reason why I do that is because it works for me. Okay. So, whatever, you have to find what works for you. And if you can take a couple little things away from this, great. Because one of the things that I did, I actually took away from an agent of mine. I was like, I like how you're saying that. So just, just got to pick up little things. Don't always be stuck with what you're the one thing that you're doing. All right. So Zach.
Yes.
Hey, Zach, this is Jessica. I run here locally for San Antonio as an underwriter. I'm just getting back to you. I'd recently received your request. I know that you were looking for help with life insurance. When you submitted that request, were you primarily looking for help with like mortgage protection, final expenses, or to leave a legacy?
I was just looking for like a little bit of life insurance.
Okay, perfect. That's great. I actually wasn't calling to go over with you right now. I just wanted to introduce myself, let you know that I was local to the area. I had received your request, and I'm going to be the one that's going to be helping you. Just to make sure that I have the right person, just to confirm here, you put your date of birth is December 5th, 1965. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And you put your address here as 123 Main Street here in San Antonio. Is that also correct?
Correct.
Perfect. Is it a house or an apartment?
It's a house.
Okay, great. And then Zach, are you currently married, single, widowed, divorced?
Married.
Perfect. And then are you guys both working, or retired, or disabled?
We're both working.
Okay, great. So Zach, like I said, I wasn't calling to go over it with you right now. Just wanted to make sure, let you know that I got your request. But my job is very simple. They're just gonna have me quickly come out to you. You guys make sure that see that you're not in the hospital. I'll be able to go over the options with you and your husband. When are you guys typically home together?
It's kind of hit or miss. I mean, depending on what's going on. Is there any way you could send this to us?
Perfect. I completely understand. Unfortunately, I don't really fit very well in the mailbox. What they want me to do is just make sure that you're not in the hospital. And I want you to see that I'm a real person, that I'm here to help you. Now, are you and your husband, are you typically home in the mornings or in the evenings, or usually the weekends better?
We're usually home in the evenings.
In the evenings.
We can be, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Now, I don't have a ton of time. I have a lot of families to help, but I'm going to be out in your area tomorrow. Would a 5 o'clock, a 6 o'clock, or is a different time better for you?
I guess 6 o'clock might work.
Okay, no worries. You said would you prefer a little bit later, maybe like a 7 or a 7:30?
Yeah, 7 would probably work a lot better.
Okay, perfect. And will you and your wife both be there at 7 o'clock? I want to make sure that, okay, perfect. Now I respect your guys' time. It won't take me a long time. I just ask that you guys will both be there. Please make sure you let her know. I don't want her to be surprised when I show up at the door. If you could go ahead and just grab a pen, I'm just going to give you a little bit of information real quickly.
That's awesome.
So.
Okay. So they get the pen. Let's keep going with it.
Okay.
I got the pen.
All right. Perfect, Zach. So if you can just write down, my name is Jessica. And if you just want to write down life insurance, just so you remember why I'm coming out to you.
Yeah.
All right. And we said tomorrow, what time did we say again?
7.
7. Okay, great. That's what I have too. The only thing I ask, I help a lot of families. Some have more questions than others. I'm really good at keeping my appointments, so I'll definitely be there. I just ask for some flexibility. Are you good at keeping your appointments also?
Yeah, I'm really good at keeping my appointments.
Okay, perfect. And then that 123 Main Street is pretty easy for me to find. Is there any like gate codes or little dogs that I need to be aware of or anything?
No.
Okay, great. So when you see me pull up, I'll be in a white truck. I'm kind of a mid-height blonde. I'll have my license around my neck, and I'll make sure like I said, I respect your time. I'll go ahead and give those options to you, and then we'll go from there. I'll look forward to seeing you and your wife tomorrow at about 7 o'clock.
Nice. Cool. So will you tell me a little bit about, I guess, the technicals, and then I want to get into objections. Okay.
Sure.
So I think everyone saw you do it. They saw that you're super good at it, and it was hard to it would be hard for somebody to interject. It would be unnatural for somebody to interject or oppose or try to weasel their way out of it. Right. So
Right.
how are you doing that?
Well, first off, I expect people to give me objections. So I know my objections very well. So if I don't feel surprised when someone tells me, ooh, I don't know if that's going to work, or, oh, I'm busy, or can you mail it to me, or I'm not interested, or I have coverage. I already expect that. So I'm not surprised. It doesn't catch me off guard. That would be the one thing that I would say. I also have very specific things that I make sure I hit on every single call. So like, I don't say I have your date of birth as this. I say you put down your date of birth as this. You put down your address as this. Because when my feeling is when you say I have, it's that like it can put people on defense, right? Same with like if they give me an objection, I'm not just gonna respond to them. I'm going to at least acknowledge them at some point. I don't care what it is. I'm going to acknowledge. I use the 3 A's, like acknowledge, answer, and then ask a question for every single objection, which I know we'll get into that. I always make sure I let them know I'm local, that I'm here to help them. I want to find out, are they married? Are they, working? Those are I want to find those things out right away before I try to book the appointment, because I want to know if I'm going to be coming into like a one-legged, and I also want to make sure that I understand how I can funnel somebody in for an appointment. What I find is too many people just start randomly shooting out times when they haven't taken just a couple seconds to figure out what the person on the phone, what their life is like. And that's what shoots them in the foot, because they'll say, oh, I have a 6 o'clock. No, it doesn't work. Oh, I have a 7 o'clock. So I give alternative choice, right? I have a 5 or a 6. Would one of those work, or is a different time better? Like I always give them an out that's not going to be like, no, I can't do that. No, I'm busy. No, I don't want them to tell me no. I want them to say, yeah, a different time would be better, right? Like I'm always finding a way to funnel somebody to where I want them to go. I don't want to get boxed in. I hope I'm explaining that well enough.
No, I think that's a very, very, very good explanation of how you're doing that. Yeah, I really like that too. Cause like, if you say, will this time work, or is a different time better? It's pretty much one of the three. So
right.
You keep moving it forward, you're like, so if I said a different time was better, right?
Well, you said a 6 maybe.
Yeah.
And so if for the, like, I'm picking up, like, I don't want a maybe, because you're probably not going to keep it. Right. So I want to make sure you're like, yeah, that does work better. I want it like, yeah, that works. Right. And I say, I respect your time. I'm not going to park. I tell people all the time, I'm not going to park out of your house. I respect your time. I just want to make sure you're going to be there too. Right. I'm good at keeping my appointments. Are you also?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But what if I did say a different time works better? What would you say?
Okay, perfect. No worries. Would you prefer later in the day or earlier, or is a different day better for you?
Boom. Nice.
So
very good.
I'm trying to I want them to tell me what's going to fit in. Right. And then I'll be able, and sometimes I'll be like, ooh, I'm really busy. I could probably squeeze a couple things around. Will you for sure be there at this time? Yeah, I definitely will. Okay, great. I'll go ahead and move a couple things around. And like, even if I didn't, I'll just make it out like I'm doing them a favor. Right. Because this is important. What I'm doing is important. I'm not bothering people.
Exactly. Very good. Thank you. So now objections. So this is what I think a lot of people, I talked to some agents. Funny, I bring this up. I talked to some agents today, and they're like, they asked me something. I was like, oh yeah, what'd you say to him? He's like, I didn't know what to say. So I said, that's fine. Goodbye. I was like, oh dude, that's definitely not what you do. So I think some agents get freaked out by an objection. So can you tell us what you do for the objection and how you get the appointment after you get one?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you that are struggling with objections, first, what I would say is just like how we talk about the mindset about the phones, if you can change your mindset on objections and just know that they're just kind of a step through the process of trying to get the appointment. And that if you're not surprised by the statements, it's almost like in the beginning when I wasn't taking this seriously, I'd kind of like hold my breath, like, oh, I hope they don't tell me that they're not interested because I don't know what to say, or I'd fumble through my words. And I just think that because we're not prepared, right? We're not prepared for our job. So prepare. I've got an agent who has she's learning her objections. She has them on flashcards in front of her laid out, and she highlights the objection. So she doesn't have them memorized yet, but she has a system set up to where she knows what to do, where to go, because she's expecting it. So that's what I would say. With any objection, I have really adopted like I said, the 3 A's: acknowledge, answer, and ask a question. And you'll see that most people who can't overcome objections is because they forget to do one of those things. Like if you told me you're not interested, right? So you tell me you're not interested. Okay. Well, why aren't you interested?
Oh gosh, I just don't want people coming over here trying to sell me.
Right. But what if I go, so tell me you're not interested again?
Not interested.
Okay, perfect, Zach. No worries. I completely understand. Most people who tell me they're not interested is because they don't think they'll qualify. They think it's too expensive, or they're just frustrated because they were looking for help and they got bombarded by telemarketers. Which one is it for you?
I've just gotten bombarded.
I know, I completely understand. Telemarketers are making my job really difficult. I definitely am not one. I do run here, live, breathe here locally for the area. My job is really simple. I know you were looking for help, so I'll make sure and give that help to you. Let me just confirm the information that you put down here to make sure that I have the right person. So I feel like if you can find the way, like, oh, I already got it taken care of, right? So, you can tell me, oh, I already taken care of. Yeah, so the point is like, if you don't acknowledge it or of some sort, then people are just you're going to be combative, and then they're going to click and hang up. And I also find if you don't hear what they're saying and you just try to talk over them to finish your script, they're going to hang up on you as well.
Yeah. So that's how you agree or acknowledge. Mm-hmm. Then you, what was it?
Answer.
Acknowledge.
Answer them. Like, so.
Answer.
Yep. Most, I completely understand. Most people who tell me they're not interested, is one of these 3. Which one is it for you?
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Right. So I'm like kind of answering them, and then I'm going to ask them a question that always leads me back to what my goal is to book them an appointment. All right. So if they say I already got it taken care of, perfect. That's actually why I'm calling. Like I'm not gonna be like, oh, well, I can go ahead and give you a review, and I've got 20 different carriers that I work through. I'm gonna say, perfect. That's actually why I'm calling. What I found is most people submit multiple requests to make sure they get the most coverage at the most affordable rate for your family. Now that I know you qualify, I'll make it really easy for me to do my job exactly what you wanted to do. And I just go right through it.
Hey, I like that. I that's really good. Now that we know you qualify, it'll make it really easy for me to see what the best rate will be for you.
Exactly.
Boom. That's
instead
money.
of, that's awesome. Oh, let me come in and do a review for you. Like, oh, who did you go through? I don't care who they went through. I don't care what their company was or anything like that.
Not when you're on the phone, right?
Yeah. It's like, well, a lot of people, well, it's fine. Well, people are like, well, what company did you go through? Did you this? No.
Nice. That's awesome. Cool. And then the tie down, which I think is the most important part. So as you're wrapping up your call, how do you make sure they're going to be there?
So I'm really hyper focused on people's cues about what they're saying. Like if they're I feel like they're brushing me off the phone, then I'm going to take a little bit more time, because I'd rather know now than me drive all the way out there and them not be there. I hate no-shows. So saying things like, I'm really good at keeping my appointments. Are you? Yes, I am. Okay, great. I don't want to be left looking silly on your porch, knocking on your door and the neighbor staring at me. Like I kind of try to make little jokes or things like that. I also make sure I ask them. I don't want to ever get them to say, oh, I thought you were giving me a phone call, or I didn't know you were coming out to me, right? So I'll ask things like, is it okay if I park in the street or in your driveway? Should I park on the street? When I come out to you, I'll be in a white truck. I'm kind of a mid-high blonde. I'll have my license around my neck. You'll know it's me. Like I want them to envision me coming to them. And I always ask for flexibility, because if I'm running 20 minutes late, I'm not calling them. because they're going to cancel on me. So I always ask for flexibility. Even if I show up an hour late, I will knock up. I say, thank you for allowing me some flexibility, and I'll just come right in. So I think tying down is really important. I feel like it's a big part that I think people kind of forget because they get excited. They get an appointment. They just want to get off the phone. But I think a lot of times it's like maybe it was a fake appointment, right? It was like, wasn't a real appointment because they're really not going to be there. Oh, I think I'll be there. Okay, great. I'll put you down, No, I'm not coming out to somebody who says, I think I'm going to be there. You think you'll be there, Zach, or will you be there? Because I'm going to be there.
So will you say that one more time, how you did that? So when I was like, that might work, or that probably will work.
Yeah, you said that'll probably work. I'll say, okay, no worries, Zach. You said probably. Is that time not work for you? Would you prefer a little bit later, like a 7 or a 7:30, or is a different time better for you?
That's awesome. Perfect.
Because if you say I'm going to address that, right? I'm going to address what you're saying, or and I'm also making sure, please make sure and tell your wife that I'm going to be there. So she's not surprised when I come up to the door, make sure you let her know.
Okay, perfect. Is there any other tips or tricks? Wait, sorry. Now this is what I was going to go. Back to how you dial.
Okay.
So like, what are some of the things you're doing while you're dialing? Like, are you triple dialing?
Yes.
What are some other things you're doing while you're dialing? Are you leaving a voicemail?
So with, yes. So with my phone burner, I have a pre-recorded voicemail. It's a very generic, kind of an intriguing, like say people want to call me back voicemail. So I'll just leave it very like, oh, I'm trying to get back in touch with them, right? I don't say what it is. I'll say, hey, Zach, Jessica, I run here locally for the area. I had a question about the request you sent in. I need you to call me back today. And I give my phone number. And that's all I say, and then I'll text, because with phone burner, you can text, and I literally say, hey, is this Zach? ? And I send it at the same time. So I'll try on all different avenues.
How does it do a voice recording with a person's name?
It's not with a person's name. It's not, it's just a blank. So I'll just say, hi, this is Jessica. I run here locally for your area. I'm trying to get in touch with you about the request you'd sent into our office.
Got it. Roger that. Nice.
Yeah. So just very simple.
And then that text is just the same, simple.
Hey, is this, so like on phone burner, you have this section where you can put a text message. So I basically have, hi, is this, I can just do Control V and paste it. And I just type their name really quickly as that third dial is going through, and I send it as it's calling.
Got it. Roger that. That's awesome. Okay. If they text you back and say yes.
Yeah, they usually say, who's this?
Oh, who's this?
Yeah. And I'll say, it's Jessica, and I'll send that. I'm just trying to get back in touch with you, and I'll send that. I don't send somebody a big, long blanketed text message. I just want them to pick up the phone.
You know what I do? This is exactly what Sean does. If I text Sean, he just calls me right when I, like, as soon as he gets my desk, boom, call. Because they have their phone. So they said, who's this? You just call them again. I have a pretty good success rate of them just picking right back up.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. Any other tips or tricks that you have as it pertains to dialing?
I would say the multiple dials is a really good. I think that a lot of people have a hard time that's in that mindset of like calling somebody 3 times in a row, but it really does make a difference. And so one tip I would give you is if somebody, like if you have a fear or like an anxiety about triple dialing. So this is what I used to. And so I had to change my mindset. So every time that somebody would answer on that third dial and they'd be like, what do you want? I'd be like, Zach? Like, hey, Zach, Jessica, I'm sorry, I was trying to leave you a voicemail, but it kept disconnecting me. And so I just act like I was trying to leave a voice. They tell them I was trying to leave a voicemail. And usually they'll like bring it down, right? They're like, oh, okay. But I've gotten in touch with them, right? Mm-hmm. I've only had one person tell me off that I was lying. I don't care. It was one person. I booked so many additional appointments by that triple dial. I don't even care. I've also had people said, thank you for continually trying to get in touch with me. You just never know. People work all different shifts. They work all different hours, call different times, call multiple times. And I like to personally, like if I have maybe like 40 leads or something, I like to dial through everybody one time through. I don't like to start off triple dialing. I just like to get kind of that, I don't want to call it low hanging fruit, but I just want to get those like immediate people right away. And then I want to go back through and I want to start like just hammering in on the dials.
That's awesome. That's good. Yeah, get at least one booked off of just getting through one time, right?
Yeah, kind of gets your flow going, right? You're like, oh yeah, I got this.
I don't know why they call it. They say get the monkey off your back, but I don't know what that means even.
Well, I think it's like no matter what, how long you've been dialing for, that first contact is always just a little like you just don't have your flow right. I still get like that where I'm like, I don't know why I did that.
That's really awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I think that like I said, I think there's like a very unique way you do it. You put things slightly different than a lot of the people I've heard. I really like your style.